You ever been frustrated with staff at work? People you've worked with, you've trained, you've given them skills and experience, and they're still not changing, they're still not adapting, they're still doing the same old thing? You ever felt yourself caught in a bit of a warp where you couldn't change yourself? You ever found the circumstance you think, damn it, I just wish I could change? Well, I want to explain to you a little bit about why that happens. I want you to get thinking about this, about how do we change, how do we go about it. So let me begin by looking at the first thing you'd like to change. Because most of us, you see, would like to change some of the results, perhaps the outcomes. So we'd all like to change the results we get in our life. There are places we'd like to be more successful. We'd like to be thinner, fitter, more intelligent perhaps even. Maybe on the other hand, you know, it's simply something at work. You'd like to be better at dealing with people. You'd like to handle sales better, a whole range of issues. So we start to realise that these results and outcomes are critical factors, but they're only the top tier. You know what comes underneath that is someone's behaviour. So, you know, you look, and these days it's very appropriate within the workplace to talk about people's behaviour. We don't talk about these people, or your children, as far as that goes, as being bad children. We talk about bad behaviour or poor behaviour, inappropriate behaviour. And so when we look at this concept, we say, well, the results are actually coming, the results we're achieving is actually coming from our behaviour. Where does that come from? Well, I want to suggest to you that that behaviour, to some degree, comes from the skills that we've got. Okay, we've all got skills, we've all got abilities. But, you know, it's from there that the skills, if we haven't got enough skills, then, you know, where do we go from there? So, I want to suggest to you that after skills, there becomes this important line. And this line is looking at, in fact, heading into the subconscious. So these are the conscious aspects. The results you get come from your behaviour. Your behaviour is going to come from your skills and your training, your knowledge. But here's the critical factor. There's a whole range that's in the subconscious that's actually going to affect how well you perform. It's going to affect the results you and everyone else gets in this marketplace. All of us have heard of attitude. People have said, pick your attitude up, boy, change your attitude. Why? Well, because your attitude is going to affect all of these things. So your attitude is a critical aspect of looking at these things. So when someone doesn't change, their results don't change, maybe it's down here in the attitude area that they need some attention. Maybe, in fact, it's even deeper than that. It may well be in their beliefs. So maybe it's beliefs they've got to change. Maybe they've got a belief that they can never be thin. Maybe they've got a belief they can never be fit. Maybe they've got a belief that their intelligence is poor. Could be any one of these. And then beyond that, quite frankly, is values. So now it comes back to values. It comes back to how you're brought up. And that's where your beliefs have been created as well. So it's, where does it come from? It's come from where you've grown up. It's come from your parents. It's come from the people you've mixed with. And as you've got older, again, it comes back to the people you've mixed with as you've gone along. So what makes the difference? The difference is the childhood you had, the way you've looked at life, the people you've met, the things you've listened to, the concepts you've believed. These are the things that have made the difference in your life. Now, to give you a bit of specific background, let me explain how I've developed some of my beliefs. And to do that, I want to tell you a little story. I want to tell you a story about me growing up. At the age of 3, I actually went and lived with my grandparents. It was a wonderful time for me as a 3-year-old. They had a large farm. They had everything. They grew everything. They had every animal you could possibly think about. So for a little kid of 3, it was just fabulous. But my grandfather had a huge work ethic. Up early every morning. So at 5 o'clock every morning we were in the kitchen. As a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, it was tea and toast in the kitchen. That was it. That's how we began the day. Downstairs then, on with the gumboots. Gumboots, what do? We walk up to the dairy to milk the half a dozen house cows. So here I am. I go up with him. We milk the cows. When we've finished milking, guess what we do? We use a separator. Now, most of you don't know what a separator is, but this is the item that actually separates the milk and the cream. So you end up with a whole lot of milk and a little bit of cream. It actually brings the two apart. So what happened as a 3-year-old, he'd hand me the billy of cream and say, now, John, walk quietly beside me. Don't run. Just walk quietly, John. Don't run. Be careful. Don't spill it. Be careful, John. Don't spill it. So he carried 2 20-litre drums, I carried the little bucket of cream. Very carefully back to the house. Don't run, John, don't run. Back to the house. Carefully put it on the table under the house. Wow, I've made it and I haven't spilled it. Didn't spill it once, by the way. Very careful, good instruction. So the job now is to go and feed the chooks. So under the house, in a scoop, tin of grain. Take the grain, we're going to have to walk to the chook yard. What happens on the way to the chook yard? Walk quietly, John, walk beside me, don't run. What's a 3-year-old want to do? Run! No, John, don't run. Walk quietly now, don't run. Can you picture this? So across the chook yard I go. Then the fun bit gets, I get to throw the grain out for the chooks. Then what's next? What do you do in a chook yard? You go and collect the eggs, right? So the eggs now go in the empty billy where the grain was, and we've now got to take these back to the house. And what's the story, John? Don't run. Walk quietly, John. Don't run. Don't run. Well, don't run, John. Just walk quietly beside me. Don't run. I turn 5. I turn up at school. Guess what? I've never played with kids before. I've lived on a farm. I don't know about playing with children. Something foreign to me. I walk in and there's hundreds of kids. I go, what the hell? I'm scared, senseless. But anyway, I survive through the week until Friday afternoon. Guess what happens Friday afternoon in a country school? Well, it did when I went to school. Guess what it was? Sports afternoon. So what do? We got grade 1ers. Well, anyone try to watch grade 1ers, play football and things, it's pretty ordinary. So what do they decide to do? At least these kids can have a race. They can all run. So they line us all up. We're all lined up. I'm standing on the line. And the teacher says, now we're going to run. We're going to race down the other end there. First one there's the winner, second one comes second, etc., etc. So I'm a little bit anxious because I'm standing on the line, and what's the problem? They say, go. And what does John do? John just stands there. And they say, come on, run, John, run, John. But what have I got? My beliefs are, I'm not meant to run. I'm not allowed to run. My attitude says, my grandfather says I can't run. So it gives you an idea. Did I have a challenge with a skill in running? I could have run, but my belief said no running allowed. So along the way, what was the result, my outcome? My outcome was I came last. What happens when you come last? Then we create a new belief about ourselves. Now, that's just my story. Each of you have got your own story. And I hope as I've told you my story, you've actually been listening and adapting in and thinking, what's my story? What values, beliefs and attitudes have you got that are ill-founded? What beliefs have been lumbered onto you that in reality just aren't real? Things that parents, others have said to you. Maybe it was about your intelligence. Maybe it was about, my mother used to say to me, how clumsy I was. You've got to be really careful, because at some stage in your life it's time to flush those beliefs and values that are no longer serving you well. Have a great week.